Hi, my name is Jennifer and I'll be presenting personalized service level agreements in Myria. So imagine a scientist with a data set to analyze, such as the output of a large simulation of the universe. Because the data set is too large, it is difficult to analyze directly with programs like Excel or R. One solution is for the scientist to use a data management system available as a service in the cloud. This should enable the scientist to simply upload her data and start to analyze it. The challenge here, however, is for the scientist to select which service to use. So even between these services, it's really hard to determine what the user might actually want to do. So for example, in the case of Amazon Web Services, the user can take a look at Amazon EC2, where they can purchase a single node of a commercial database engine that can cost up to 35 cents an hour. Or if they don't want a single node, they can also take a look at Amazon Elastic MapReduce, where they can purchase a cluster of machines of up to 20 nodes. But if the user doesn't want to think about resources, they can also take a look at Google Compute Engine, where the user pays according to the amount of gigabytes processed on their data analysis. So as you can see, between these services, it's still really hard for the user to decide what they actually want to pick. What makes it difficult for users to select between these services are the following questions. For example, one is the pricing. The user may ask, well, how much will the service really end up costing me? Will it cost a lot if I accidentally purchase a cluster that's way too large for the type of data analysis that I actually want to do? Second, in terms of capabilities, the user might ask, well, will this service even be able to run the types of queries that I'm interested in? Third, in terms of performance, the user may ask, well, will the queries that I'm interested in actually run fast in this type of service? As you can see, there's this mismatch between what the user is actually asking for and what the cloud is offering today. So our solution is to create a personalized service level agreement, or PSLA for short. And instead of having the user spend or think about resources or gigabytes processed, we offer the following. So let's say we have a scientist show their data, and the cloud services says, okay, let me take a closer look at your data, and here are some of the options I have for you. So for the first option, if you pay 10 cents an hour, I can offer selected aggregates over some of the tables in your data, and these can run under 1 minute, or I can also perform some joins, and these will take less than 10 minutes to run. Or, as a second option, you can pay slightly a bit more at 50 cents an hour, and I can run these selected aggregate queries under 10 seconds, and these joins under a minute. So as you can see with this example, the cloud service is giving the user options in terms of pricing and capabilities, so that way the user doesn't have to think about resources. So here's a demonstration of the personalized service level agreement in Myria system. So here we have an example with astronomy dataset and the pharmacy dataset. So let's take a closer look at the astronomy dataset. So once the user uploads that dataset, they are shown the schema. So here we have particle table and the galaxy table. And the way you can think about this is that there are millions of particles that belong to each one of these galaxies. So besides the schema, they're also shown this personalized service level agreement down below. The personalized service level agreement is made up of two tiers. One tier, here we have tier number 1 that we tell the user can be purchased at about 35 cents an hour. We also have the second tier here, which can be purchased for slightly more at 89 cents an hour. So what we show the user is that in the first tier, the user can see different types of query capabilities, and they can see the runtimes for those queries. So for example, in this case, in the first grouping here, the user can see that they can select any attribute from the galaxy table, and they can get a result of under 60 seconds. Or they could also do the join between these two tables, where they pick a really high selectivity, and they can project any attribute and also get a runtime of under 60 seconds. And what we show the user is that these queries are a bit more complex, where we project maybe more attributes from these joins. It takes a slightly longer time for these queries to run. And then the difference is that in the second tier here on the right, where the user pays slightly a bit more, they get faster runtimes for these types of queries. So for example, in this first query here, they can do the join between the two tables and project 4 attributes. So if you can see, this same query on the first tier took about 240 seconds, whereas in the second tier it takes about 60. So the user in this case can see that performance trade-off between these two selections. And really, these tiers represent different configurations of Myria. For example, this first tier represents 4 workers, while this tier here represents 8 workers in Myria. And what we want to show the user is that in this personalized service level agreement, the user doesn't have to think about the resource they need to spend on. Instead, they're thinking about pricing, capabilities, and the runtime. So if we select one of these tiers, for example, if we select tier 1, we're taken to this page where the user sees the tier that they selected and these query templates along with this query editor. So if the user were to select one of these query templates here, they can see that this is one of the cheap queries where they can run under 60 seconds. This is just a select any attribute from the Galaxy table. And they're able to see that query on the query editor. They can hit the execute button and they can run that query. And the user can select, they can run any query that they want, but it's this is more, the PSLA is more about helping the user, guiding the user through what type of service they want to pick instead of thinking about the resources. So some of the things that we want to think about for future work on these personalized service level agreements, thinking about, well, how many tiers do we actually want to show the user? How many different configurations of Myria do we actually want to do based on their data set? And another is also thinking about, well, as a user is running each of these queries, they might want to run more complex queries as they go further in their analysis. So another thing to think about is, well, how can I improve the SLA based on how far the user has gone in their analysis? So here's a quick overview on how we're able to generate these PSLAs. So in Myria, PSLAs are generated by a separate subsystem that we call the PSLA generator. To generate a PSLA, the system takes into account several steps. So first, the PSLA generator builds a model based on a benchmark dataset where it learns the query runtimes based on different features of query plans. This step happens offline. Second, to generate a PSLA based on the user's data, the system takes as input the schema of the user's data, and it records standard statistics such as the cardinality of each of the relations. Here, the PSLA generator generates a workload of representative queries based on the user's data. Third, for those queries that are generated, it predicts the runtimes of the queries using the model that we've learned from before. So here, it distills a set of queries with these runtimes into the PSLAs that we showed during the demo. So if you'd like to learn more about PSLAs or the Myria system, please check out these publications. Thanks.